just get a mouthful of tea first. Yeah.
Take your time.
Wet my palate.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our game against Bournemouth. We'll start off with Alan from Sky.
Well, David, with a quick turnaround with games, what's the injury news at the moment?
I think apart from Jack Grealish, I think everybody's fit, and we're still sort of nursing one or two. Obviously, Jared Branthwaite, trying to just gauge the minutes he can play at the moment, coming back from injury. Kieran Dewsbury Hall as well, Charlie Alcaraz. So we've had a bundle of players who've been out injured. So, but they're all back training, they're all fit. You've seen that where they've been playing some games or they've been on the bench. So, no, we've got everybody fit.
Is that getting those players back? Does that give you a different headache now? We're trying to fit them all in, and
it does, but when I think how I felt sort of going into some of the games at the end of December or beginning of January, I was trying to work out how it could be severely bad at that time, But I think I looked through a lot of the teams at around that time. A lot of the teams were short of players. I don't know if it's a build-up of suspensions. Obviously the AFCON played its part in it, and just really injuries as well. That was what was probably the biggest thing. But no, it's good that we've got everybody back and rearing to go.
Fantastic win against Fulham at the weekend, and a chance to capitalise that now at Hill Dickinson on tomorrow night. Absolutely,
we've got to try and turn our away form into good home form and get more wins if we can. We've done a good job. We just need to try and make sure we can maybe pick up another few wins at our stadium.
Have you sort of had a look at why that would be the case, that you've done so well away and not as good at home?
No, I don't think there's anything. We're obviously always looking to see what it may well be, if there's anything. But we've got a great new stadium. We're going to be there for a long, long time. So the sooner we start getting used to it, the better. I think that everybody enjoys it. We do, but maybe the opposition quite enjoy it as well.
People are talking about Europe, European places and stuff. How do you deal with that as a manager in the position you're in?
Well, I deal with it is because we don't really say too much, we don't go on too much, but obviously I'd rather the talk being about European places than talking about relegation places, and probably the history of the club here for too long has been relegation places. So I think we would all quite enjoy that talk if it was about European places. But at the moment, we've got a long way to go for that to happen. But if we can hang in with the teams above us, you just never know.
When you came in, the club was 2 points off a relegation zone. They're now 2 points off a European place. What part of turning a culture? Because when a club's been suffering for so many years, I guess that's one of the bigger problems.
Yeah. Well, the real reason is this club should never have been in that position. So this club's too big, too strong a football club. It shouldn't have been in that position. But it shows you there is football clubs who've dropped down through the divisions who have been big football clubs as well. Probably Everton just survived at one or two occasions, just made it. But this club's too big to be that. We should be talking about the other end of the league, and that's the way I'm looking. I'm thinking we've now got to keep going, keep growing. We won't be able to grow hugely all the time, but we've got to keep growing and getting away from the feeling that we're a team who should be near the bottom. We want to be a club who's challenging with the top teams.
And just finally for me, Tariq George, we saw a bit of him at the weekend. Are you excited about what he can bring to the club?
Yeah, I'm seeing bits of him which I like, but again, he's a young player. It's not as if we're getting a Jack Grealish in who we're saying, hey, we've got somebody who's played 300 or 400 games and knows how to play in the big occasions. Still a young boy, so we've got to be careful that we don't expect too much from him, and someone who's still going to have to get new to the players and get used to the club. But what he's shown at the moment, we've been quite impressed by him.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, Al. We'll go to Julia at Radio Merseyside.
Hi, Julia.
Just on that about young players and keeping that expectation, sort of keeping it down a little bit, is I know you spoke last week about Tyler Dibbling, but also Adam Asnew. What goes on with a young player then? Because I know you say you want to see more in here and on games. Yeah. What is it they can do to impress you?
Well, the biggest thing is you've got to take into consideration is the level of the Premier League. And actually the number of young players in the Premier League, sadly, is probably lower than it's ever been, the amount of young players who are getting opportunities. You have to be at a completely special level now to get it. And we could probably pull off some really top talent off the top of our head in young players. So those young players have got a lot to do. They've got to work incredibly hard. They've got to have the physicality, capabilities to cope in the Premier League and what's required to do that. The speed, obviously the footballing awareness and desire to be at the level they are. But look, we've always here tried to bring on lots of young players over the years. You could talk of many of them. Not all of them went on to be first team players, but so many of them went on to have great careers. It's part of the job to bring on our own. We've not got so many of our own at present, but we're hoping that can change. But bringing in Adam, bringing in Tyreek, Tyler, we hope that we're starting to show signs that we're bringing in some younger players as well. We need the experienced players to help us in the position we've been in at the end of last season, what was talked about. But even now, you can see the difference people like Grealish or Kieran Dewsbury Hall are making. So those young players have to wait, and they have to show me that they're good enough to perform.
A bit of patience. Kieran Dewsbury Hall, you mentioned there, it's now 4 goals in the last 8 Premier League appearances. He's been speaking about at Everton, and I think his words were, it's exceeded my own expectations. Mm-hmm. When you look at his performances, I know he had that injury where he was out for a little bit. Has he hit the expectations you had for him?
Absolutely. I mean, when I spoke to him in the summer and talked about coming here, he'd said that he would score me goals and how he played. So we've certainly not been disappointed in him. We've been so pleased with him, and he was a huge miss for us around those months of December and January. Really, I hope he keeps doing it. But he's just a little bit not quite at his full levels yet. But as you can see, his contribution's still enough to help us. I still think he's got a little bit to go here to get back to his sharpest where he was in the opening sort of 6 or 8 weeks.
Just the injury, do you think?
I think so. I think it's just playing and getting himself back up to. I don't think he's a boy who's had many injuries before, and I think it's just sort of take him back a little bit. But he's picked himself up really well, and he's now had the best part of a couple of full games now, so he's going well.
You could hit 40 points tomorrow if you can get a win. And I know you've said that you'd rather everyone be looking up for Everton than down again. I'm just wondering, when you were here in the 2004-05 season where you finished 4th, are there any similarities you can start seeing around squads when you are kind of pushing for that European spot that you can see now? Obviously, I just wondered if there was any sort of thing around here that you're seeing that you think this feels a little bit similar.
Yeah, well, a couple of the years, one of the years, obviously, we got to the Champions League. The other years, we were mainly in sort of, it was the Europa League. It wasn't the Europa League then, was it? It was the European Cup, probably then. And they probably didn't have the Conference Cup then. So it's freed up maybe a few more places for it. I've got some thoughts. I think that for us to do it, we're probably going to have to win a couple of games, which maybe would be unexpected to win in the run-in if we were going to do that. So we're going to have to be good. We're going to have to try and win the games that we can do. And the problem with the Premier League at the moment is more to do with the level of the teams you're coming up against. Fulham were on a really good run before we went there on Saturday. The teams you're coming up, Leeds United with recently, have been on a good run, and even Wolves, and we got Wolves. So sometimes just getting teams at different times in the season can play a part. We come up against a Bournemouth team who I think they're in a run of 5 unbeaten at the moment. Brought in a few new players as well. So a lot to do with just your timing and who you get at different times in the Premier League can make a big difference. So, no, we're going to have to be at our best to get a result. You've
mentioned it, and you've been asked in here many times about the home form against the away form. What is there about the home form that can change? To do with the stadium, it is a case of getting used to it as your new home, but is there anything the club can support with? Is there anything the fans can support with there to help?
Well, look, I don't know if history. I don't know how Arsenal were when they first moved into the new stadium. I know it was difficult for West Ham when they first moved into the stadium. I'm trying to think of any other clubs. Tottenham. The only thing about Tottenham was on the same site, wasn't it? So there's a little bit of similarity. I know they built the new stadium there, but I think the other clubs were different sites and new locations for everybody. So I don't know exactly if they done great. I felt pretty. We've all felt pretty good in the stadium. I think other clubs are quite enjoying it, come at the stadium, enjoying new stadium. But we have to turn that into a bit more like Goodison and in a place where we can feel we can win more games than we have at the moment. So let's hope we can do it.
Final for me. Does it change your preparation? A night game after an away trip at 3 o'clock Saturday, or does that change it when it's such a tight time frame?
Yeah, well, look, I was just talking to Andy on the way down here, the press office, and I was saying, you wonder why, no, for football, and there's no real reason, but why this game couldn't have been Wednesday? Because I think Bournemouth are out the cup and we're out the cup. You know, why would it not have Wednesday, which would have given everybody? We understand it's a midweek fixture, but we're all getting squeezed in on the Tuesday for this one. So I think sometimes we find some of the sort of the decisions to how it comes about very difficult. Maybe the numbers of games of teams lots of teams played Sunday, so obviously can't play Tuesday. So look, it's the same for both us and Bournemouth. There's no advantage for either team or disadvantage, so it just feels it could have easily been a day later for both teams.
Thank you, good luck.
Thanks, Julia. Any further questions in the open section before we move on?